evening, everybody. This is the Huge Pop Entertainment, and tonight, Buff is the stuff. He's the man with the moves, the man with the muscles, and the original member of the New World Order, the five-time WCW World Tag Team Champion, is stepping back in the spotlight to drop some truth bombs from the glory days. You think you know the story? Think again, because you're NWO and you're NWO for life. Get ready, get your popcorn. Let's hit the streets. Dive deep with Marcus, Buff, Bagwell. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much, man. I want to start this off with something I just recently learned. As soon as I heard you say five-time champion, just the other day, and I wish I knew exactly, but I can find out exactly, but it's 98, it's 98 or 99, 1998 or 1999. I technically am a six-time World Tag Team Champion with five different partners. It's five with four, but my buddy sent me a link to watch Halloween Havoc, the one I dressed up like George Clinton.
Okay.
And in that match, it's a tag team match, me and Rick Steiner versus Scotty and the Giant.
Okay.
And whoever won the match was World Tag Team Champions. During the match, I turn on Rick, and it's a big, giant, really wonderful angle where we get the ref, and I'm counting the ref's hands, and Rick still kicks out. Well, Rick wins the match. So technically, I won the match.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, and I'm going to argue, if I ever get a chance to go to the Hall of Fame, I'm going to tell this story because I'm telling you, not making it up, I believe that on paper, I am a six-time World Tag Team Champ with five different partners, which will never be touched. I think 5 and 4, there may be a few, but I've never heard of another one, but there may be, but there is nobody in one company that's a six-time champion with five different guys.
Wow. And I'm going to let Matt roll with his first question because that is right down the aisle of the tag team. So, Matt.
Okay, so in my research, I have I love the history of the business, and on this date, in 1993, you won your first tag team championship with Too Cold Scorpio.
Wow!
This date in '93.
This exact date.
This exact date, yes.
Well, it makes sense. Let me tell you why I know that's close to being right, if not exact, because we were only champions for a little while. I mean, like a couple of weeks, and we lost them right back at Halloween Havoc '93.
You main evented WCW Saturday Night against the Nasty Boys.
And we won the match?
Yes.
I love it.
From what you remember of that night, like what was like the feel of when they said, "Hey, you guys are going to go over"? This was like
the feeling I just had when you said it again was like, oh my God, man. I mean, it was just, first of all, let me explain how giant the Nasty Boys were to World Championship Wrestling in 1993. There is no Hulk yet. I don't think Hulk's came over yet. They were the first WWF guys to come to the WCW to make us look good. They were one of the first. And it did make us look good that we had WWF talent. And then to be able to beat our WWF talent, the Nasty Boys, and me and Scorpio to be able to do that, it was like a feeling like no other. And then to back it up with Tag Team of the Year, and then to back it up with I was Rookie of the Year. So it was just a heck of a first 2 years for Marcus Alexander Bagwell.
Absolutely. Rico. Sure chat, man.
Oh man. Well, no, see, my first question was I was going to ask you actually has a little bit before your wrestling time. 'Cause I wanted to go back to like, man, you were like looking at, well, you're certified masseuse. What was, I want to make sure I had
No,
that
no,
right.
no, no,
And
no,
then,
no, 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 no. Let me correct you. It was a certified massage therapist. And that
massage
was the whole
therapist.
that was and let me tell you why. There's a story there.
Okay.
Cause masseuse was trying to get they were trying to drop that word and make it more professional.
Ah,
The masseuse word and massaging got a bad name. It was a bad name. The reason that I did that, it was an instant way to make money, and it was taking one of the steps to by having a full college prep anatomy physiology course at the Atlanta School of Massage. It was taking one of those away while making money to do some kind of sports trainer, sports massage, sports medicine. I want to do something sports related. Sports is all I knew. From the time that I was 5 years old, I was going to work for Southeastern Building Supply. We were lumber people. We were a Southern family that owned a lumber company. And back then there were no Home Depots and no Lowe's and all that. There were individual companies. And in Marietta, Georgia, one of the biggest cities in Atlanta, it is Southeastern Building Supply, and the other company was called Thomas R. Thompson and it was broker Thompson. I can't remember the exact name, but it was uh, there was another company called Broker and Thompson or Thompson and Broker that was a little bit bigger than us. We were making about $1 million a month, and they were making $3 million a month in the late '70s and early '80s, which was unbelievable money. We worked 5 days a week with 200 employees. They had 7 days a week at 1,000 employees. So equally income companies, but then Home Depots and that started coming through. But with me, I was going to do that. Well, we didn't have a plan B. When you for 17 years make, your company's making $1 million a month for 17 years, you know, what can stop you? There is nothing that you could do wrong. So the brothers were working there. I was going to work there when I graduated, but there was a disadvantage to that. Every story you normally hear of a success story starts with I was broke, our family was broke, we had no money. Well, mine's different. We did have money and we were rich. But there's a disadvantage to that because you don't explore options. We did everything you're supposed to do except be good at grades. We played ball, and the Bagwell boys were great at ball. We did football, we did baseball, and my middle brother did all three sports. He was a state champion wrestler as well. Three sports in high school is hard to do, boys. I'm telling you, it's very tough. Uh, it really is a tough thing to do, three sports. But so the disadvantage of having Southeastern Building Supply there, the advantage is you're going to be rich the rest of your life. Huge advantage. But the disadvantage is if something goes wrong, what are we going to do? My family, and I don't blame them for it, but my parents did not have a plan B. And I think because plan A was so good, we just didn't have one. And when it came, 1988, I'm graduating, and my father brings the three boys together and says, "We're going broke. We're going broke, and I've got enough money to get y'all where you want to go, to get you started." So he bought my oldest brother a gym. That's what he wanted. He named it Muscle Connection and had a gym in Marietta, Georgia. And this is 1988, 89. My middle brother, he bought him a drywall company and Bagwell Drywall, Marietta, Georgia, to get him going. I'm 18 years old, still in high school. What do I want to do? And I've got a 1.8 grade point average. because school didn't matter to us. All that mattered was math. My father said we had to graduate and we had to get an A in math. That's all that mattered. Besides that, we went to school to play ball. That's it. And out of that, we got it when it came time. It was like a team effort, a family effort of what am I going to do? And during that time, when we looked at massage, they were trying to clean it up. So the word masseuse, you couldn't even say it on campus. At the Atlanta School of
Mm.
Massage, you couldn't even say the word masseuse. You had to say massage therapist. And we recognized as massage therapists, so they were trying to really clean it up. $10,000 in 1989 to go to the Atlanta School of Massage. And I went to the Atlanta School of Massage. It was like 9 to 4 for like 10 months. Intense program. I graduate #1 in my class. I loved it. I was the only guy that was in shape. This massage therapy drew a weird crowd. It was like almost like vegetarians. The guys were, peace shirts on and tie-dye shirts on and sandals and very pasty white. Here I come walking in with a pair of biker shorts on, all jacked up on steroids and all tan and pretty. And it looked weird. But what I thought was, if these guys are making money, I'm gonna make a killing, man. And I could not have been more wrong. I went to my very first job with a company called Corporate Sports, the #1 company in Atlanta for sports medicine. And I was the number one company, and I was the #1 guy out of Atlanta School of Massage. A woman walks in to get a massage by me, and she sees me eye to eye, and she turns and walks away. And I said, "Excuse me, where are you going?" And she turns around and goes, "There's no way I'm letting you massage me." And I'm like, "Why?" And from that point, I didn't realize it, but it was over. But I just got done spending 10 months and $10,000 to do this, and I'm good at it. But women saw me and felt insecure from my looks, I guess, and just wouldn't do it. And the biggest light bulb went over my head of realizing I did not see one cool looking guy this last 10 months at massage therapy school. Every guy I saw was skinny, white as a ghost, with a horrible outfit on, sandals, peace, love, and free. And I realized, oh my God, that that's what it is. And I didn't realize it, but it was over right then. But I spent $10,000 in 10 months. So I buckled down to make it work, and I stayed with the company and all that. But I could not. If you don't have both populations, think about this in anything you do: radio, McDonald's, wrestling, a shoe store. If you don't have men and women, you're not going to be successful. The population's is too little. You're cutting your population in half. So you're not going to be successful. Before I could do all these numbers, I was depressed. So I'm at the pool one day at Poplar Place Apartments in Kennesaw, Georgia, and Missy Hyatt. I see, and me and Missy got a little bit of a different story right here. She thinks it happened at the pool, but it was 25 years ago. I mean, excuse me, it was 35 years ago. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I think I saw her at the pool and thought, man, that's a really good looking blonde over there, but that was it. I'm at the pool depressed. That same day I was depressed, I came back from the pool and I noticed that blonde haired chick was moving in right across from me. And at 18, I'm dumb. I go, that's ironic. How ironic. She told the lady to move her in next to me. She didn't know I was married. So that night, knock, knock at the door. I look out and I go, hey, Tanya, it's that it's that girl I told you at the pool today. And she comes in, and like Missy is, hey, I'm Missy Hyatt. Da, da, da. And we're like, who are you? And she's like, Missy Hyatt, I work for World Championship Wrestling, and you should be a wrestler. And me and Tanya's like, a what? A wrestler? And so, long story short, I said, those guys don't make any money. And she goes, our lowest paid guy makes $100,000 a year. And I said, tell me more. Tell
You
me
had
more.
me at that.
Yeah, I was all in,
Yeah.
brother.
All
And
in, yeah.
I'm not kidding. Within maybe the next day, but I know within 3 days, I was at the WCW school, and it didn't have a name yet. There was no power plant name. There was a school. There was a warehouse, a dirty old warehouse in Griffin, Georgia, that Buddy Lee Parker and Jody Hamilton ran a warehouse with a ring in it. And Kevin Nash was in that ring the night I went down there. I knew Kevin from being the #1 bouncer in Atlanta, and I was the patron at all the clubs. And he was always the cooler, like just like the what's the oh my god, the bar, the bouncer movie with the famous bouncer movie
Roadhouse.
with
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Yeah,
He
Roadhouse.
was
Yeah.
the cooler. He was Patrick Swayze of Atlanta, Georgia.
All right.
Every 7 foot 350 with abs. Everybody would go to look at him. It was unbelievable. So me and Kevin were friends from Atlanta. At the same time, he's trying to make WCW. I'm trying to make North Georgia independent wrestling. So much different levels, but we both were horrible trying to make it in pro wrestling. And that's how it all started. But Missy told us to try it out, and I got a guy to train me. I went to the school, and they charged $3,000, and I didn't have $3,000. So Missy found a guy that would do it for 1,500, and I rounded 1,500 up with some friends. I got some friends to back me or something, and was able to go get trained by Steve the Brawler Lawler. He, honest to God, I went to about 4 classes, and they threw me in the ring, and I looked so stupid for a year. But I'm telling you, if I had to do it over, I'd take looking stupid for a year as a training method over a year of busting your butt in the ring and then going out and learning how to do it in front of a crowd. I really believe the way I did it made me a fantastic wrestler very quick, because when you look stupid in front of 25 people, you fix it to where you don't do that again. And I learned in front of crowds like that, and I looked stupid in front of crowds like that, but I fixed it in front of crowds like that. And I walked in to Global Wrestling Federation about a year under my belt of pro wrestling, and the babyface and the heel is talking in the dressing room. And I went, wait a second. Y'all can talk before going to the ring? And buddy, I went from being pretty bad to pretty good in my next match, from being able to speak to my guy just a little bit. I just didn't know I didn't know that was what you did, because we didn't do that at North Georgia. We got in the ring as 2 green, horrible wrestlers and locked up and tried to call a match. Tackle, drop down. It was horrible, horrible. But I got pretty good at it, to the point we got almost good at it to where if we could talk for a few minutes, man, we'll have a heck of a match. And I went from there to there real quick. Barry Horowitz was my first match at Global. And if you got a match of me as the Fabulous Fabian, which was no more than a couple of months before that, and you watched those matches back to back, you wouldn't believe it was the same guy. You just wouldn't. I was at the verge of being pretty good at a bad level, but when I was able to talk to that guy a little bit, I went to being just pretty good at a big level. And it was like the rest. I just kept on rolling, bro.
Wow. What a story. Holy cow.
That's
Man,
awesome.
thank
So
you.
before we get going further, I have to say, Jacko V ECW, he says, tell Mr. Buff Bagwell hi. So I'm assuming you know Jack Victory.
Oh my God, Jack O Victory was the first. He was the first guy I saw when I went to my very first television taping at the auction barn. And that's what it was, a barn that they drew a curtain around. And he had a big Australian partner, and they had swords on their pants. That's all I remember. But they were just coming off WCW, and I saw them in my locker room, and I'm thinking, man, I got to be in a pretty good place here if this dude was just on television, you know? And so I knew from Missy, I was a very well-mannered kid, always was. So it didn't take much to learn how to act in a dressing room. Missy told me, how important it was to shake hands and say hello and to be cordial. But the three Bagwell boys, all three of us were really very good kids. We were very well mannered. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. We knew we were very well mannered kids. So that part of it, man, without that, I never would have made it. Because the same thing, like the looks with massage, that looks with wrestling, it ain't much different. It's heat. Here comes this young looking kid. It ain't like they're gonna welcome me with a red carpet. They're gonna think this kid's gonna be, he's a smart aleck, or he's cocky, and all of a sudden nothing but wonderful, sweet, nice things come out of my mouth. And it took me a long time to win them over, but when I did, they realized this kid's a good kid. But Jack O Victory was a real cool guy, very again, just Atlanta boy and all that, but a lot of great memories with him.
Absolutely. So my question would be, when you were paired with Lex Luger and the tag team Totally Buffed, how did that experience differ from working with your earlier, younger tag partner, Scotty Riggs and Too Cold Scorpio?
I get asked a lot, like, who is your favorite tag team? And it's just hard to answer that. The truth is that all of them meant I learned something, and all of them meant something to me that helped me in my career. And Lex is the same thing. It was, like with Tuco Scorpio, I learned so much, and it was a great tag team. And then, you had, then with Stars and Stripes, and same thing. I learned so much from that, but a different kind of a learning. And then with Scotty Riggs, I'm the hot tag guy now, where I was the heat guy with Wilkes. And, but still was even. It was a good, even tag team where anybody could get the heat because we're the same size guys. But it was I just learned a little something more in every single one of them. And each guy had something to teach me in every one of them that I learned from. And even with Norton, same thing. I think that tag team would have been the best tag team I ever had. And the only reason it wasn't is because I broke my neck at the very beginning of our run. And when I came back from the broken neck, he was in Japan, and they put me with Scott Steiner, so we never got to finish Vicious and Delicious.
Nice.
Best tag team name ever. But back to Luger, another fantastic name. Totally Buff. I mean, are you kidding? That's perfect. Again, it just happened at the wrong time. That was the tag team that went right into the end of the company. We were the second to last cover of the magazine. Um, and then WCW was gone. So I think Totally Buff would have been one of my best tag teams, if not the best. Me and Lex were fantastic wrestling uh, partners. We were fantastic workout friends. We traveled good together. We were a good team, period. We were a good life team, much less now in the ring. It would just been a really fantastic, better than even you saw. It would have been an incredibly good run with the right time for that.
Wow. Matt.
Um, uh, Going back to before you became the tag team specialist and all that, you were featured uh, in on the January 11th, 1992's episode of World Championship Wrestling against stunning Steve Austin. You were given a title shot. I went back and watched that. That was a hell of a match, by the way. And what was it like? You guys went to a time limit draw. Like, what was that match like? Like, just being in there with eventually Stone Cold.
It was very special because for me, for a rookie, for any rookie, to be able to go a time limit draw to a superstar considered one of the best workers in the business, it did wonders for my career because of that. And that's what that spot's for, is to, you don't beat the champion, but you showed you could hang with him and you move up in the rankings, and that's how it works. That's how this business works. But but it really was, like I said, for me, you that's no different than me pinning him right in the middle. That's how big of a help it does to a rookie. And we no matter how good someone is and no matter how bad someone is, there's a thing called chemistry that you got to have. And me and Steve Austin had fantastic chemistry. I believe when you're as great as Steve Austin is, I believe you find that niche of having good chemistry with anybody. But he's one of those guys, I think, is he just knows each wrestler and he can adapt. But our chemistry was very good, and we did a lot of wrestling. And we wrestled a lot together because you had the Hollywood Blondes with Scorp, you had single matches, you had a lot of stuff we did with the Stunning Steve. Even before all this, it was the Dangerous Alliance. So he was around, early also. We were both in that company very early. So wrestling a guy like Steve Austin and being able to hold your own, that same match you're talking about, Sting, it came across his phone the other day and he called me up and goes, "Man, that was one heck of a match." And I said, "Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. It makes me feel good, man." But I believe that the real big thing that got me over at a young career was that me getting beat up and Sting coming and making the save.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
worked, man. I mean, it just worked.
Rick.
Sorry. So I got to ask you, it's kind of off the wall question, man. And I'm going to ask this: where did it come from starting to wear the top hat? And I asked that because you got me to start wearing one. Like, I was the guy who was known to go into parties wearing a top hat.
Well, I love it. I love it. I love it. So I will tell you this. So I believe I've never answered this question before like this, but I believe it's the truth what I'm getting ready to say. I really believe this is the answer. I would be willing to bet if you were to have a survey of the entire United States, and the survey was, how many sixth graders do you know that wore a white tuxedo to the middle school dance in the sixth grade and had a cane and a top hat? And I'd be willing to say that survey is going to be very small number. Everybody's pretty much got black on. Not a soul has got a top hat and a cane. But so the answer, I believe, to your question is I think that comes from my mama. My mother was a very cool, charismatic woman that was just she could talk great, she had a great personality. I believe it came my dad was super cool too. Hall of Fame drag racer, always dressed to the nines, wore those cool boots with the little zippers with blue jeans. This is 1970s, with bell bottoms. I believe he was cool also, for sure. But my mother had something special. And she was thinking together, they thought of really great things. And I believe that comes from I didn't say, hey, mom, I want to wear a top hat. I would think for sure my mother thought of the top hat and thought of the cane for middle school. And we pulled up in a limousine.
Nice.
Sixth grade, guys.
Ooh,
This is 11. This is 11 years old, guys. That's
sixth
unheard
grade.
of. Sixth grade, white hat, white cane, limousine, and there was not another white tuxedo at that whole dance. So I didn't think of that. My mother did, and she was cool. So, but keep in mind, that's my mama and that's me. We're genetically bound. So later on in life, I was a big lids guy. I get all my fitted top hats from lids. And 1990 lids was exact hats. Like this says 59 centimeters. When you got fitted ball caps in 1990 from lids, it was 7 1/8, 7 1/4, 7 3/8, 6 and whatevers. And let's tell you something, if you really are a hat expert like I am, if you have a haircut, it can make a difference on how your hat fits. Yep. So you better know where you're at on your haircut, because the hat would hurt your head, because fitted hats were fitted hats back then. And a haircut could cause a headache for you, could cause headaches. So I was at the store at Lids, and I was getting ball caps, and whoever was with me said, hey, try that top hat on. And memories of that story I just told you of the sixth grade hit me. And I told the person that story. I said, you ain't gonna believe this. I wore a top hat in the sixth grade. Nice. And I put it on, and it looks incredible on me. It looked good. And I was like, I want to get this. And the person's like, what are you going to do with it? I said, I don't know, but it looks good. And I'm rich. So what does it matter? Let's make a bunch of money. So of course I threw the top hat in with the other ball caps and bought it. And I'm not quite sure when I pulled the trigger on it, but I can tell you that 100% that face on that top hat, where that's at, was my mother again. Wow. So she didn't think of the top hat for wrestling, but she thought to put my face on the top. And it was brilliant on TV. Look at me, all that crap we did. It was brilliant. And so the top hat, I believe it came when I broke my neck. So I'd have to look back at some tapes to see if the hat came before April 22nd, 1998, because that's when I broke my neck, or if it came after. And I'd be willing to bet the top hat came after April 22nd, 1998, because during the off time of that 10 months where I couldn't wrestle, that's where the overalls came from. That's where the top hat came in. And that's where I got into really good shape, because I had time to focus on everything before I got back into the ring. And when I got back in 10 months and pulled my shirt off, everybody was like, whoa, wow, buff Bagwell, So it worked.
Awesome. So
Nice.
You claimed that a backstage incident involving you and Shane Helms started with a playful slapping fight. it got turned into something different because you got hit with a frozen water bottle.
Yes.
What was it about your backstage reputation that led him to react the way he did?
I don't think it was a backstage thing. I think that, looking back at it, I believe that more people just knew that we were taking pills at a high level more than we knew they knew. I believe that we did very good keep in mind, if you looked at me in the ring, would you ever think that guy was a drug addict? I looked like $1,000,000. I didn't look like a drug addict. And I never went on TV screwed up ever. But we were taking a high dose of pills and a high dose of alcohol daily. And I believe that the boys had gotten more, even though a lot of the boys did it, we being a little bit bigger of stars, of course, you get a little more bigger of heat. And so at the ring that day, we were practicing at the WWF tryout facility, and we had the best workout we've had in the whole week. We were all there to get used to the ring, and we had really gotten much better and had a great workout that day. And at the end of the workout, I remember somebody jab. It was Shane Helms threw a jab out, and I can't remember the initial jab, but this story gets told. He actually, I watched him tell this story one time, and he says that this cap flew in the air and is what hit me. I had 20 staples in my head, brother. when I wrestled Booker T that night, there were 20 staples in my head. Let me look here. Hold on. Nope, that didn't do it. Are you kidding me? A plastic didn't stick to my head. Oh my God, it stuck. Did you see that? Did y'all see that?
I seen it. Yes.
Is it still there?
Caused some
Yeah,
staples
right there.
Yeah. Can you see the blood?
No.
It's crazy. I watched that man look into a camera, and the guy goes, "Now wait a minute. You're telling me that it wasn't frozen? It was an empty little bitty bottle of empty fluid. How did he bleed from it?" And Shane goes, "I don't know. It must have been the cap."
Must have been the cap. Nice.
Devastating. Right. So, again, a grown man, a pretty tough grown man, had 20 staples in my head from it. You do the math. But regardless, it was my fault. It was my fault. A bickering argument started, and he said something smart aleck to me, and I said something back to him, and then it called me a drug. He said, "I can't." He said, "Wow, that's pretty big from a drug addict." And I said, "Look, Shane," I go, "You know what, Shane?" I go, "I can't wait for your first interview with the WWF." And I went, "My name's Shane Helms. And I did the WCW and WW." And the boys fell out. And then, of course, then he says, "Well, at least I ain't going bald." And I was starting to go bald at the time. And then I said at that junction, "Look, brother, we got two things we can do here. We can either drop this," I said, "or I can knock your teeth down your throat." I said, "Either way." And he said, "Take your best." And he didn't get shot out of his mouth. And he was on the bottom rope. I'm standing on the outside of the ring. He's sitting down on the bottom rope with his arms back. I slap him and it rolls him into the turnbuckle, just an open hand slap. But as soon as I connected, I went, "Well, what are you doing, man?" And so I'm embarrassed. I'm mad at myself. I turn to walk off, and the white cap flies to there and hits me in the head.
20 samples.
He field goal kicks the white cap.
Yeah.
It hits me in the head, and man, a puddle of blood came from that white cap that you've never seen before. Now, here's the crazy story. there's a puddle of blood around me, and Johnny Ace comes running up, and Nick, who's the Irish guy, with the bad leg, and he's from Ireland. He was real tough. Fit Finley, and Johnny Ace come running up to me and go, "What happened?" And I'm looking at 10 sets of eyes that all saw this happen, and their eyes are saying, "Mark, don't tell the truth. Don't. We're all going to go down for this. Just don't do it." That's what my heart and my brain told me when I saw the eyes, and I said, I fell. Keep in mind, I just got sucker punched, and it felt like a sledgehammer hit me, brother. But again, it's my fault, so I'm not mad. I'm profusely bleeding, and I tell Johnny Ace that I fell. That's how embarrassed I was for doing what I did. And so Johnny goes, "What?" I go, "I fell." And I saw the guy's faces like, "Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you." And again, this may not be what any of them were saying, but that's what my brain said they were saying. That's what I thought they were saying. Yeah. And so Mark Jindrak was an eyewitness to all of this. And there was about 8 other guys that was too, that could tell this exact same story. Wow. And Mark Jindrak, though, was the one that left with me, that helped me pack my bags, that got me on the airplane, that we took off before they could see I was bleeding. And I flew home to my plastic surgeon to fix my head with some of the worst pain I've ever been through in my life, by cauterizing my head and having to staple 20 staples in my head. Wow. And then with all that going down, I get to the next TV, which is Seattle house show. And I walk in, and the first person I see is Shane Helms. And he's with the Hardy Boys. And I, of course, go, "Hey, guys." And nobody speaks back. And I go straight to Johnny Ace, and I go, "Johnny, I need to talk to you." And I tell him the whole story I just told y'all. Wow. He gets us all together. Everybody shakes hands, apologizes. Me and Shane even got a picture somewhere of him behind me, acting like he's going to hit me. And I'm posing because we had made up and was laughing about it in Memphis, Tennessee. Wow. And somehow I'd come across this feed of him telling the world that a white little plastic cap is what opened me up. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
That's a crazy story. I never expected that out of that question. So, Matt, go ahead.
Okay, so the NWO, I have to ask, what was the story behind them pitching that to you joining the NWO so early? Like, who came to you and said, "All right, you're our next guy. This is what we're going to do"?
Well, first, I don't think I had got to where, I even thought I was NWO material. In other words, it wasn't even old enough for it to be like, God, I wish I was in the NWO. The NWO was happening, but nobody really knew how great it wasn't really great yet. We just knew this could be pretty special. And so with that being said, I'm one half of the World Tag Team Champions, American Males. So I'm in a pretty good spot myself. And I'm not thinking about that really. I show up to TV with Scotty Riggs, the American Males, and Kevin Nash comes walking into the room and says, "Hey, Bagwell, can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Sure." Furthest thing from my mind what was coming. And he goes, "Hey, man, do you want to be in the NWO?" And I was like, "Are you kidding? Of course I do." So they came up with a storyline of, if you don't join tonight, you're fired. If you don't join in 30 days, you're fired. And then me and Scotty were the first ones out. And, we came up with that little storyline to do it that way. But Kevin Nash is who presented that whole idea to me. And I just went out and performed it like Kevin told me to perform it.
Rico.
I love that. So the question I got to ask you, man, is it's actually not even pertaining to wrestling here. I got to ask though, how did it feel, and what did you think about future wise with doing Day of the Warrior? Was that something you want to do future wise, like do acting and stuff, or?
Great question. Great question. So I'll be honest. I really thought when I signed, you got to think about it, guys. I'm 21 years old. I've been told that I was a good looking guy for a lot of years. Very, very anybody that meets me always says that line, God, you're not anything. I thought you were going to be real cocky and real ugly. If I had a nickel for every time I heard, man, I heard so many bad things about you, but you're really a good guy, Bagwell. And I really am a good guy. But the facts are facts. From a very young age, I was a good looking guy. And I was a model and things like that my parents put me in. Very thankful for my looks. My mother and father, I was very thankful to God that I had looks. But it was that from a young age on, I was a good looking guy. So when I was doing extra roles in movies before wrestling. I got a picture that I will send you guys if you want me to. Just when this is over, if I knew you were going to ask this question, I'd have sent it to you tonight. But there's a picture of me with Hulk Hogan, and I'm just three people back in the movie No Holds Barred. I got $75 to be an extra and No Holds Barred. They filmed it in Atlanta. My agency that I was a model for at 19, I went down there and got my $75 and was an extra in the movie No Holds Barred. And I got a picture of me, a young Marcus Alexander Bagwell, just 3 feet behind Hulk Hogan. If you would have told me in 1989 that I was going to be on TV with Hulk Hogan making $500,000 a year, I don't think you could have got me to believe that. I don't think I could have. I don't think I would have believed you. But that's what happened. And so, Mike, to answer your question, me getting into movies was what I was trying to do at a level of what we could do back then without cell phones and without computers. I had an agency that my 8x10 was there, and they would call me for stuff like this, and you go down and get $75 to be an extra in it. And I went to class and did study my lines and things like that. I did not all you could do, but I did a good bit trying to be a movie star if it came along. And when WCW happened, I'll be honest, I really thought that was going to be, brother, I was only 21 years old when I signed. So that was going to be a stepping stone to Marcus Bagwell being a movie star. There was no doubt. And within a few years, I'm a lead role on a very B type film with Andy Sedaris, Day of the Warrior, and then we did another one, Return to Savage Beach, and then Charmed, and there was some other. It was another one younger than that I did, some kind of little show with Dusty Rhodes where it was a little like not a sitcom, but like a little cop sitcom that I was an extra. I mean, me and Brian Pillman was with Dusty Rhodes on this little 30-minute show on TV for just one episode. But all of these things was going to be wrestling was going to be a stepping stone to my movie acting career. And the truth, that was what we thought. But the truth is this: every wrestler that has been in a movie was a wrestler that tried to act. And The Rock is a movie star that happened to wrestle. That's the difference of The Rock. The Rock really is Hulk wasn't, I wasn't. Batista and Cena are also very good too. Those three guys, I'll even say, they are movie stars that happen to wrestle. And the Roddy Piper, Marcus Bagwells are wrestlers that happen to be in a few movies. And there's a big difference in that. And that's where I believe The Rock and Batista and Cena really are. They're actually superstar movie people that happen to wrestle. And I really thought it was going to be the other way for me. And I still think it would have been. I believe I would have been where Cena or Batista is. I would have a chance to do that with the WWF push I would have gotten. And instead, there was no push from the WWF, WWE, and Marcus Bagwell just kind of went down in flames.
Is this the picture?
Yeah, thank you for that.
That's it,
Yeah,
brother. There I am.
I remember seeing that picture. Yep.
There you go.
I am, brother.
Look how long
So I've got to ask. I mean, you talk about your mom. So I want to know what it was like, that infamous mom on the forklift match, and how that was portrayed in the Dark Side of the Ring. Was that accurate as all get out? I mean, I'm just curious. That was a crazy angle. And was it your angle? Was that your story you came up with?
No. So first of all, let's do the forklift story first. So the forklift story was where, think about it, guys. I'm pretty sure this was the second to the last pay-per-view of WCW.
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we wasn't doing good things. And at this junction, they didn't want to hear our lip. So if we were to say anything, I mean, I begged them to tell me, why are we calling it Judy Bagwell on a forklift match? And why is those other people calling it in the same company Judy Bagwell on a pole match? Because it was called both of those.
Really?
So did y'all ever hear that?
No.
In the same company I worked for, it would be called Judy Bagwell on a pole match and Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. It was called the same thing in the same company. So I'm like, and again, you ask that question and it's heat. You get heat. So at that junction, my agent had told me to shut my mouth. And I shut my mouth and did whatever they told me to do, but I've got no idea where that came from. I just know that Vince Russo told me to do it, and we did it. And that's it. That's all I know. The Dark Side of the Ring episode is 100% the truth, exactly like Mark told it, but he didn't tell the whole story. So the whole story is, I had a neck brace on because I just had broken my neck. And I can't look down at anything. I have to have a neck brace on 24/7. I'm not allowed to take that neck brace off and look down because my neck is trying to fuse back together. I wore that neck brace 24. If I showered, it was a quick shower and you put the brace back on before you get out of the shower. For 3 months, I wore that neck brace 23 and a half hours out of set 24, 7 days a week. And so during this time of this, Mark Bagwell shaved his whole body. And Mark Bagwell's legs were getting hairy. And it starts driving you crazy in the bed sheets and your jeans. The hair growing back really gets irritating. So I had to shave my legs, and I couldn't look down to shave my own legs. So my wife is shaving one of my legs, and my mom is shaving the other. And when it got time up there to do what needed to be done up there, it got done, whether it was mom or my wife or a combination of helping. And my buddies came in and were like, "What are y'all doing in here?" But again, it don't sound as bad when I tell you that I can't look down. I have to have somebody help me. My mom is helping my wife shave her son's legs, and that just kind of got mixed in there somehow.
All right. All right. Hey, what a story, Matt.
Now, okay, so I'm really curious on a lot of the backstage stuff. Now, you've worked with several different writers, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, like you just mentioned. Who was your favorite guy to work with as far as backstage and creating those storylines and what have you? Who was the guy that you enjoyed the most working for or working with?
I had the chance to work for Sullivan, Kevin Sullivan, Dusty Rhodes, Bill Watts, Cowboy Bill Watts. But there's no doubt. I mean, hands down, Eric Bischoff. The reason why I believe it or not, I really did like Vince Russo a lot. But the problem with Russo is when he first came in, day one, he sat down individually with what they call the top guys. Out of what they call the top guys, I was one of those guys. Not me saying it. That's what they called it. In the middle of him sitting down individually with, I'm guessing, 30, 25 or 30 top guys, the story he told all of us was roughly the same that we talked later on. And it was basically saying that WCW, the story he told me, I made sure was roughly the same that I talked to everybody else about. And the story he told me was that the WCW's fault, their failure was always the person in charge was trying to get himself over. Dusty Rhodes was trying to get himself over running the company. Cowboy Bill Watts was trying to get himself over by running WCW. Kevin Sullivan was trying to get himself over running WCW. I do believe it wouldn't be too hard to prove those three names did that. But I don't think that's a bad thing. But I do think they probably did that. Russo's claim to fame was going to be he was never going to be on television. That was WC. Within 3 weeks, he was the world champion. How does that happen? I mean, his main thing he told 30 top WCW guys was he was never going to show his face on TV. And in 3 weeks, he's our heavyweight champion. So everybody lost respect for him. And then by the time Bischoff came back and then they tried to work it out and they both were together, I think it just, keep in mind, guys, we were still doing threes on Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Nitro. We're still doing a 3 rating when the NBA Finals was doing a 1. If you watch Who Killed WCW, I don't even know how they can even say who killed it, because it's very obvious if you watch the show. It came down to that one guy, and I can't remember his name. His last name was like Latham or something. And he said he did not want pro wrestling on the Time Warner channel, period. So he turned down a $64 million deal with Eric Bischoff to make $6 million with Vince McMahon. He lost $58 million because he did not want wrestling on our show, on our channel. So that's what I think about that. But so the answer is I like Bischoff the best. But Russo, I just don't understand what he was trying to do by doing the crazy things he was doing, and they didn't really make sense. And then you say you're not going to put yourself on TV, but then you're our world heavyweight champion. How How does that? What happened? What happened to? Why did you? I thought you said you weren't going to do that. So very
Mhm.
weird, very very strange.
Rico.
Hey, so I would just want to ask real quick. Sorry. Who would you say, man, is like, like your best buddy, your best friend out of the whole business? You know, somebody you can pick up the phone right now, off like you never missed a beat.
Um, Lex,
Sorry.
Lex and Sting would be a real close tie. I think Lex and Sting will be a real close tie, but Lex or Sting, yes.
So I'm going to ask you this
Lex
question.
or Sting?
Lex or Sting, yeah. You
I didn't
mentioned,
hear you. I didn't. If y'all asked me something, I didn't hear it. Kind of bubbled.
I'm going to ask you this question based on that, what he just said, and your story you just told about Vince Russo being champion. So the question is, who is the greatest WCW champion ever?
Oh my goodness.
Now, before you answer that question, he asked this question. There's a running gag
Too.
on. There's a running joke in the TikTok community that I kind of spearheaded with me and another content creator, and you can give your answer, and then I will let you know who we have dubbed the greatest WCW champion of all time.
So the question is, who is the greatest WCW
Yeah.
champion?
I'm
So
not heard of this.
who do I think is the greatest WCW champion of all? Wow. Man, that's actually really hard, you know. But I'll be honest with you. I just think at the time, I'm talking about the way everything felt when you saw this guy, the way your stomach felt, the way the music was, the way that I saw this guy. To me, that makes it the best, and that's Goldberg. I just believe. I mean, Hulk Hogan's Hulk Hogan, you know, but I mean, you get that door, that locker room door shut, and that music coming on, and here comes Goldberg, and you're in the ring, brother. I mean, let me tell you, it's something else, bro. And then he blows the steam, sucks that fire in, and blows the steam out. It's like, is this really happening? I mean, it's a feeling like I've never seen before. The night he beat Hogan in Atlanta, that was a sound that I've never heard before in my life. It was a Goldberg chant that was in such sequence that it came across like inside the dome of the Georgia Dome, 80,000 people. It was crazy. And I just believe that feeling is rare. But for giggles, I'll tell you my second is, because that's going to blow y'all's mind. Rick Rude.
All right.
Rick Rude.
I love Rick Rude. To me, besides Goldberg, equal to Goldberg, was the most believable wrestler that we ever had. Rick Rude was legitimately a killer bad guy, legitimately outside the ring. And if you knew anything about him, even inside the ring, it felt like he could kill you anytime he wanted to. And I had a really utmost respect for Rick Rude because of that. I believe that Rick, business-wise, it wasn't good to be as intense as he was because he kind of got lost in his character. but he was so believable because he was shooting with all this stuff. And when you wrestled him, everybody knows that Rude was what we call snug, but it was almost stiff. That was the way he worked, And so was Goldberg. He was too, but he was a green kind of stiff. Rude was doing it on purpose, kind of stiff. And that's where I got the blockbuster from, was the Rude Awakening.
Okay.
Mm.
Now I know you want to ask. I mean, Matt can tell you the answer, but
No.
go ahead.
Go ahead, tell me the answer.
Okay, so again, this is a rib. We have a lot of fun on TikTok and all the social medias and the community that I'm part of as far as like the wrestling community. We have labeled. I can't like
David Arquette.
David Arquette.
Oh, come on!
See, I told you.
Again, it's a rib. It's a rib, Mr. Bagwell.
It's got to be a rib. That's what ruined our company.
It's a rib. But that's and that actually leads me into my question. Backstage ribs. Do you have any stories you can share with like some of the ribs that your favorite ribs that happened that you were either part of or it happened to you? Like, I love hearing the rib stories as well.
Yeah, so this is a really good one that I've shared a couple of times, and I've never heard anybody else tell any kind of story like this because it's so good and it's so devious. And I'm telling you, I think people have heard me say this and have done it to people because it's just a very easy one to do if you are wanting to pull a rib on somebody. So WCW guys really wasn't ribbers. We just wasn't. But when the WWF guys started coming down, the Nasty Boys and like the British Bulldog, all those WWF guys coming here, then the ribs started happening, down here, poop in a bag and all that stuff, with Nasty Boys. But until then, we just wasn't a ribbing kind of company. We just didn't. We were just a G-rated, Ted Turner owned company. And but with that said, I remember that Vader rubbed a lot of people wrong. And I saw what I think was the smartest, best, most easiest rib to pull on somebody ever. He got Vader's toothpaste and he peed in a syringe and he injected the toothpaste with a needle and injected 3 cc's of urine inside that toothpaste. Every time Vader brushed his teeth for the next 2 years, I remember seeing Vader roll his toothpaste up because it was getting empty, knowing he was rolling up and pushing out Davy Boy's urine and brushing his teeth with it. It was such a great rib that nobody really liked Vader. If you liked him, it was just barely, he was just rough. He was just hard to deal with, and he was stiff in the ring and all that. So he wasn't the best guy to be around, Leon, but that was the easiest, smartest, most vicious rib I've ever seen.
That is great.
Awesome.
No way that toothpaste ain't gonna come out that little syringe hole ever. So it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I mean, before you go, Rico, I feel like Davy Boy has been like in the middle of like most of the greatest ribs of all time.
He's like the top ribber, of my understanding.
Oh, please give an example of another one. I gotta hear this.
That's really the best one I've ever seen. The other
That
ones
is
were
awesome.
the other ones you've heard, like just chaining chaining somebody's bag to the roof or ceiling, and you put a padlock on it, things like that. There's really nothing that creative like that one. That was a really well thought of, very simple, low key way to really mess somebody up.
That is
But the old pooping bags that happened. Nasty boys, you go around, not to me, but other guys, the nasty boys were just dumping your bag. And I don't know how they got it there, but they would just,
What the
you
heck?
knew, and of course they would deny it, but the nasty boys always got blamed for it. But the other one was like, trying to think, there was another, well, like Jake with the snake thing. He would throw that cobra in the room and turn the lights off and close the door, stuff like that. And I swear to God, the Steiner boys would be trying to kill the snake with their boots, and everybody else is hanging from ceiling fans and stuff. Man, it was crazy. Because the story was that those cobras, they couldn't completely devenom them. There was some venom in them still. It was at least the story that we were told. And so everybody was scared to death. I mean, those other snakes would be in the shower with you when you were showering.
What?
And yeah, and so soap would be burning my eyes, but I'm like, looking at that snake over there, it's crazy.
No way. That is epic.
No,
Wow.
snakes in the shower.
No.
Wow.
Piss and toothpaste.
Piss and toothpaste.
That
Wow.
is, I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
That is awesome right there.
So, one of my favorite wrestlers growing up has a impact on your life, I would assume. You had in a car accident in 2021. Your niece organized an intervention with DDP. He probably, I would have to say, and guess that he's played a very instrumental part in your life, in your rehab and your everything. So, can you talk about your relationship with DDP and what you've been going through with that? And by the way, congratulations, man, for the recovery and all that stuff,
Yes.
man. I have to say, I will say this. I'm going to share a personal story. My son now is, after going to jail and almost losing his kids and almost losing his marriage, my son now is like 11 months sober. And to hear stories and see legends that we watched, knowing that you went through hell in a handbasket and back and forth and whatever, I want to say congratulations on your sobriety, first of all.
Yes.
And I just love the stories that I see about you and DDP and how DDP helped. Man, DDP's helping just more than you as far as in the wrestling business.
Crazy.
So I'd like to hear your story about DDP and where he's brought you from.
Great question. And that starts way, way before yoga or way before Dallas did any of these kind of things. But Dallas was always, you can't just turn into somebody Dallas is. Dallas was that person this whole time, but nobody saw it. He was looked at like a too old of a guy trying to wrestle. He was an old man trying to play a young man's game, and with not many things in his corner for him, really. I mean, age wasn't in his corner. It wasn't like he was in great body shape. It wasn't like he was a great looking guy. He wasn't like he was a great wrestler. He had to work for all of that. And me and Dallas became friends at a very young age because we just happened to be 15 years apart, let's see, 65, 14 years. It's 14, you were 14 or 15 years apart. So he was a matter of fact, he was up for Rookie of the Year with me. He won the PWI Rookie of the Year when I won the WCW Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
Now, everybody knows that you'd much rather be the television company Rookie of the Year than the PWI magazine, but not Dallas Page. He was like, I'm the real Rookie of the Year. I go, look, brother, you're 36 years old. What are you talking about? I'm the rookie, so, but it was no heat between us, nothing like that. It was good. I rooted for him. He rooted for me. Dallas was so bad at this. We all were so bad at pro wrestling that we would video our matches to see if we could get better. And Dallas was great about videoing the matches. And he would go home and try to get better. And he would get a little bit better and a little bit better. And then pretty quick, Dallas was pretty dadgum good. And he got better and better. But during that, I was a big fan of Dallas. And he was a big fan of mine because he saw that Marcus Bagwell, again, was one of those guys that was really a good guy. He was nice. He was well-mannered. I was great to the fans. I never turned a fan's autograph down. And Dallas was like that too. So that's when we first glued together, was we were big about doing the right thing with the fans. And Dallas was shocked that somebody that looked like I did had the attitude I did, which was very low key, very non-cocky, very much humbled and thanking fans and shaking hands and always taking that picture and always signing that autograph. So we bonded through that at first, me and Dallas. But I remember that Dallas, when him and Eric became friends, everybody, said that Dallas couldn't make it on his own. But, everybody says because of Bischoff coming in, that's what gave Dallas the run. No matter who your boss is, and no matter what kind of push you get, when they give you the ball, you've got to be able to run with it. And Dallas was able to run with it. So I think Dallas was a great world champion. He did a fantastic job. He was rubbing elbows with the top guys when nobody believed except him. Nobody believed that he would be there, but he did get there, and he was one of the best guys we had at top level. And I remember them chanting DDP one night. And all of our house shows, all you ever heard was either woo or stinger stuff. And during that time, there were DDP chants going on. And that's very rare right there for somebody to choose something else except Sting and woo. And Dallas was in that kind of a groove, and he did a great job. And then what Dallas did after with the yoga and helping people, it was really truly his calling. That's really what he was great at doing. He was great at helping people, and that yoga thing just allowed him to be able to get in and save and help a lot of people's lives. And it's incredible what that DDPY thing has done. And then look what he did with Jake. And he added 10 years to Scott Hall, and then Scotty Riggs and me. What he did to those hundreds of humans that nobody knows, and the 4 that all the wrestling fans know. But I'm telling you, go click on the DDPY, and Dallas has helped hundreds of people get their complete lives back. And that comes from Dallas being such a great person. But he came to me, same thing with my niece. And, he said, look, you gotta go to rehab, or me and your niece are out of your life. And I to this day, if I wouldn't have gone, I would still probably be in that funk. And I went, trusted him. And then his president of his company, Steve Yu, he as well was a huge part of my sobriety. He took me under his wing. Steve did, and with Dallas overlooking everything, Steve was hands on. He was trying to get my knee wounds healed up, and he was there for the 30-day chip, the 60-day chip, the 90-day chip. He was there for getting back in the gym, and he was there, and he was in the trenches. Steve Yu was, and he did a great job. I'm very, very blessed for Dallas, but I was super blessed for a guy that flies under the radar for Dallas Page, and his name is Steve Yu. YU. He's a special person, and he was there to do a lot for me and help me get my life back. And I thank him and all the employees of DDPY, but Dallas Page is what stints that whole thing. And it's his attitude and his positive nature that vents through that whole company to make that whole thing work the way it does. And it's really a wonderfully watched, well oiled machine that I love seeing. And I'm very happy and very honored to say that to call me and Dallas Page friends, and it makes me feel good to say it. He's a great guy, and he helped get my life back. He really did, on track, and he was there to do it and to help me, and just very thankful for Dallas Page.
You have time for one more question each from us?
Sure.
Matt, go ahead.
This is really basic, and you probably get this all the time. Who are your top 3 guys that you've shared the ring with? Not only as opponents, but as just being part of the business with. Like, who are your top 3 guys?
That's a great. I never heard it put that way. That's a great question. Top 3 guys.
Your Mount Rushmore, I guess, would be.
There you go. That's well. Okay, but that's a little different though. I think because let me give you my Mount Rush. Let me give you my Mount Rushmore first. So my Mount Rushmore instantly. If Hulk Hogan is not on everybody's Mount Rushmore, you just don't understand the business. Is my belief, my opinion. But I believe Hulk Hogan and The Rock are my 2, like just boom boom, and then Flair, Hogan, Rock, Flair, and then the 4th, maybe I never really thought of the 4. I always thought of the 3, but I would say it had to be, a Shawn Michaels or a Taker, something like that. But let's just say Taker. That would be my Mount Rushmore. But sharing the ring with, I didn't share the ring with those guys, Flair and Hogan, but not the other 2. So sharing the ring, I think it'd have to be, still come down to like Sting and coming down to Lex Luger. That would be 2 of the 3. And then I think Steve Austin. I really do. We all knew how great he was, but none of us saw, Stone Cold coming. Nobody. Fantastic gimmick. It worked incredible. But I do think that's the 3 people that I actually shared the ring with that I have the most respect for.
Great.
So I want to ask you, man, like my question is the whole WWF whatever taking over, what in your words, the real reason why Buff didn't get a chance to go to WWF and really show what he could do?
So what is your question?
Just what, like in your words, like I guess what was the reason, like why didn't you get that opportunity, to actually go to WWF and showcase your skills?
It's a great
I felt
question.
like you were one of the top. Man, sorry to interrupt. I just felt like you were one
No,
of the top guys
please
to go to
finish.
CW.
Yes,
And I felt like that was just a lot of shortcomings there, and you just it got ripped out from underneath you. And I'm not saying that because you're on the show. That's facts. That's on 100% facts.
yeah, it is. It is 100% the facts, and it is. I saw Johnny Ace about a month ago at a Southern Honor Ship, And to answer your question, the answer is I don't know. But I can tell you that I think Johnny Ace knows. And I asked him if he'd go on my podcast, and he can't right now because he's in all the stuff that's going on. He's involved. But when that's over, he said he would come on and tell me what I don't know. But what I don't know is I don't know what happened from, you just can't fire Buff Bagwell without warning him, can you? But they did. So I just have never been in a position that I couldn't fix it. If there was a problem, I'm going to fix it to where I don't lose my job. But I wasn't even allowed to fix whatever it was. I couldn't even fix it. And so how do you do that? I don't know how, but they did. And that's what I couldn't believe is before I was not even able, I couldn't even fix it. There was nothing. I didn't know what it was. So how do you fix what you don't know? So what I do know is we were in Tacoma, Washington, and they wanted to do the very first show of the what was it? What do they call it? They call the WCW and the WWF thing. They called it the
Invasion.
Invasion. They want to do the first match of the Invasion in Tacoma. And me and Booker are whispering, why are we doing this when next week is Atlanta? Why would you put Booker T and Buff Bagwell in a show in Tacoma, Washington, where everybody's going to boo us out of the building, or you could wait 7 days and do Monday Night Raw in Atlanta, Georgia? The Invasion. You're invading WCW in Ted Turner's backyard. It's perfect. Why are we not doing that? We didn't know, and we couldn't ask. But we're very knowledgeable about it, and we're whispering with our mouths covered, like saying, "What are we doing? Why are we doing this?" So I know that that's wrong. And then I know that right before my music came on, that Shane McMahon appeared. And as soon as I saw his face, I knew it was not good. So I tried to find a set of eyes that saw Shane talk to me before I went out. And there was not one set of eyes. And Shane McMahon goes, "Do not look in the camera." And I said, "Shane, that's all I do."
Oh, don't say it.
I said, "That's all I do, brother." He goes, "If you look in the camera, you're fired." So go back and watch that match. It's the first match in the last 3 years that you look at Buff Bagwell not look in the camera.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't look in the camera one time because I was told not to.
Wow.
But if you don't think that didn't mess me up a little bit inside, then you don't know TV. And then they told Booker the same thing. They told him not to get, but I didn't know it. They told him to get straight in the ring. And then we get booed out of the building, and Stacy Keibler announces us. Since when is Stacy Keibler an announcer? And Arn Anderson and Scott, his last name, Scott something, they were Scott Hudson, they were the ringside announcers. They've never been an announced team ever. So what was happening? I don't know. It was weird. And then they called it a bad match. You can't call something a bad match when nothing technically went wrong. There were no trips. There were no ducks that wasn't supposed to be ducked. There were no punches missed. There were no technical mistakes. Now, whether it was an interesting match or not, no, it wasn't. But you could not say it was a bad match if all the moves were performed correctly. And here's the biggest thing that nobody knows. When me and Booker were backstage arguing about the match a little bit, Johnny Ace stops us and goes, "It's our fault." And we're like, "How's it y'all's fault?" Pat Patterson does all of the main events for WWF. Pat Patterson thought that Johnny Ace came to us for the finish. And Johnny Ace thought that Pat Patterson came to us for the finish. But nobody came to us for the finish. Nobody. So we knew nothing to do but what we did with each other. And Stone Cold told us he was going to come out at the end and beat on Booker and for me to join in, and they're going to throw us out the back. But we don't know what none of that meant. So there's no reason to have the match we had 4,000 miles away from the city that you were trying to invade. Why do that?
Right.
Why tell me not to look in the camera? So
Wow.
to me, it was like set up for failure. But I
Right.
don't know why. Why was it set up for failure? I don't know. And then this is the biggest part of all of it. So I wrestle a match with Booker T with 20 staples in my head. And I get home. Jim Ross calls me and tells me, "Hey, stay home, rest your head. We got big plans for you on Monday." That got translated to my mother called to get me out of the house shows, and I was fired on Monday. So the $1 million question is, why did Jim Ross lie to me?
Wow.
But I can't prove he lied. But guess who can?
Your mom.
Johnny Ace.
Oh, no, yes.
Johnny
Wow.
I
Ace.
think Johnny Ace knows because they were best friends at that junction.
Yeah.
I want to
Gotcha.
hear what happened at that junction. Why? Here's the thing. So what if my mother called? She
Right.
didn't, but let's say she did. Why should I get fired because my mother called? What does that mean? Why should I get fired over one bad match if it was a bad match? So
Right.
it was bizarre to me why they had to go. But here's the catch. People believed it. People believed that it was a bad match because they were told it was a bad match. And people believed that my mother called because they said my mother called. But neither one of those, and both of them combined, that shouldn't get me fired.
Right.
So I don't
No.
know. And the best part is they don't call it fired at the WWF. They call it released.
Released. Yes.
And I raised my hand and I said, "What is the difference of released and fired?"
Wow.
And they have an answer like that. They say, "If we release you, we can bring you back in a few months. If we fire you, we can't." Now, I knew that didn't make sense, but it was enough for me to shut my mouth and get out the door. And that's all they want. They want you out that door without any problems. And that's exactly what they got. They told me to call back in 3 weeks. I waited 4, and Jim Ross still did a deep breath when he answered. I said, "Hey, Jim," and he went,
Wow.
I said, "Jim, I'm only calling because y'all told me to call." And he goes, "We don't have anything for you, Mark." I go, "I knew you wouldn't. I'm just calling because y'all told me to call back in 3 weeks. Have a good day." Click. That was it.
It'd be
That's a shame.
I may have called Johnny Ace 2 or 3 more times over the next year, and that was it. I didn't try no more.
Wow. Johnny Ace would know the answer, man. He should come on to Huge Pop Wrestling or Huge Pop Entertainment, and we can ask that one question.
Brother,
Yep.
he supposedly is going to do it for me when he's done with all this vent stuff, but
All right.
he knows where the bodies are buried, brother.
All right. Well, I know I don't want to take up all your time, man. I know it's getting late where you're at. So an independent wrestler wants to know. A friend of mine. He wants to know is if there was one thing you wished you knew at the beginning of your career, what would that have been?
I've never been asked that before. There's one thing at the beginning. I mean, I would have. The only thing I can think of, because it was really the overall problem, it was just hovering the whole time, was be careful with the pills. Be careful with the pills, because all wrestlers are all pill heads. And for 5 years, we took pills and took them perfectly. Like, they didn't affect us. Having a pill in the daytime was taboo. Having an alcoholic beverage before 6 p.m. was taboo. And we really had it under control. But all of that with addiction, it goes away. And when that WCW was over and the WWF closed their door on me, that leash was off. And the drug addict that was just right on the edge for about 5 years went all the way in, because now I don't got no reason to be sober. And I got a good reason to be messed up. And everybody would even agree with me. They were like, "Oh my God, look at it! Look what happened to him!" So it was almost like I was I was okay to do what I was doing, because they felt so sorry for what had happened to me. But then that rode out, and then I kept going. Where it was a 20-year run that every day of my life, I was a fairly high percentage sedated. Every day for 20 years. Every day for 20 years, there was some substance in my body that I had taken every day for 20 straight years. And now I am 3 years sober.
Good job, man. Real
And I mean, who can tell you that they had the best 3 years of their life and they lost a leg? If that ain't a plea for people getting sober, I don't know what is, buddy, because I'm telling you that I lost a leg and I've had the best 3 years of my life this last 3 years.
Oh man, I'm proud of you, man. I'm
That's
proud of
amazing.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to go down their list. Matt, you have anything to say in closing? Then Rico. So yeah.
Like I said before we came on air, thank you for the memories. Thank you for being larger than life character. Just to go back and watch the matches over again, it lets me go back to my childhood and share those memories that I had, because my son loves professional wrestling. He's going to be 13 in a couple weeks, and he just loves the business. He's more knowledgeable than I ever thought I could be. The guy
Does he know? Does he know the run that he didn't see, or has he seen it?
He's seen with the magic of the network. He's able to re-watch everything that I grew up watching, and he loves the old stuff more than he loves the new stuff.
The old stuff's better.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
It is, man.
He just loves the business, and it's through talking to you and the others that we've had on before, that I get to relive amazing memories, and I love to just say thank you for creating those moments, creating those memories for me. And now that again, I can share with my son. I
love it.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you guys.
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean, same thing, man. I just want to say thank you for everything. Like I, it's a bad story, but it's a funny story. Like I was telling you with that top hat thing, I ended up we're at a party and stuff, and the guy tried starting stuff with me, and I had the shades on, and he goes, "Who do you think you are?" And I looked right at him, and I was like, "I'm buff, I'm tough, I'm the stuff, and if you can't handle that, I put the shades on, and said you're just not enough." And like
I
everybody was just rolling, laughing. I was
love it.
I just you meant a lot to us, man. You still do, and
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for everything.
This means a lot to me too, guys. Thank y'all so much for it just makes it mean something what I did, and it did mean something. It was a very wonderful time to be part of pro wrestling, and I just happened to find a good little gimmick to put in that time, and it worked. So thank you guys for watching.
I want to say thank you for coming on. I'm going to call you a friend forever, man.
Absolutely.
And I probably text you, man, once a month saying, "Hey, what's going on, man?"
I told my girl the story. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we've had this book for a while.
Yeah.
And I had, at the very beginning of my amputation, I was talking to a different prosthetic company, and I didn't have the guy's last name. It was just Scott. And so I was trying to get all these old texts off my phone. So I just reached out to this Scott, this prosthetic guy named Scott. And I said, "Hey, brother, I'm deciding to go with a different company. I'm going with Trek, blah, blah, blah." I had text this Scott. And he texts me and goes, "What did I do to hurt what did I do? Well, I'm sorry, whatever it is. I didn't mean to hurt your." And I was like, "Oh my!" I called him instantly. "Oh, brother, I'm so sorry. No, 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 we're good." I explained the whole thing, and I told my girl that. She's like, "Oh," and I feel sorry for him. I said he was, by the text, it really hurt his feelings. He didn't know why I dropped him, and so very sorry about that.
No, man, I have honestly 100% enjoyed the conversations that we've had over the text, and I even will tell you this: I had a River City WrestleCon interaction with Jimmy Hart. I sat and talked to that guy for 20 minutes, and that was the coolest thing I've ever done. Right?
Jimmy's a super great guy.
Yeah. So I want to tell you a story real quick before I let you go. It has to do with my brother and I growing up as wrestling fans. I moved back home after some issues.
Oh, wait. You gotta make sure you tell them that we're 12 years different.
So we're 12 years different. So
yeah.
I'm 12 years apart, right? I'm 55. He's 43. And at the time, I was like, he was like 8, right? And I lived back with my mom, and I was a big Saturday Night Main Events guy. So that's when Sid Vicious and all that was going on, and what's that I smell? I smell a power bomb, So my mother tells me at like 6:00 in the afternoon, "Scott, do not let your brother come in and watch that crap because it's at 11:00 at night. He needs to go to bed. He has church in the morning, blah, 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 blah." "Okay, Mom, no problem." We lived upstairs above my mom and dad's room. Okay. My brother goes, "Knock, knock, knock." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude," "can you be a cool brother and let me watch Saturday Night's Main Event with you?" I said, "Dude, we're going to get in trouble, bro." He goes, "No, man, I'll be quiet. So he goes, "Okay." So let him in. Shouldn't have done that. So Sid Vicious is on his way down to the ring. He goes, "What's that I smell? I smell a power bomb." So I picked my brother up in the power bomb position, and I threw him on the bed. His feet kicked up, hit the lampshade that was on the ceiling. The lampshade fell, crashed through the ground, smashed above my mom and dad's room. That was the last time I was allowed to watch Saturday Night Main Event up in my room. My mom and dad were so mad, but it was such a funny story. Him and I share that all the time.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
great.
wrestling, I guess I'd say that because wrestling and you guys as characters or whatever in the business create moments that we recreate because of watching you guys. So, Buff, I say thank you. I say my favorite part of wrestling is NWO, and when I see you walking down that aisle with whatever, Matt put together a great vignette. Perfect. I love it. Man, Buff, you're the stuff. So I want you to close the show and tell the fans where they can find you at, where they can see you next if there's a convention. And then after you do that, I'm going to play our outro. But please do not go anywhere. I'd like to say thank you off the screen. So, Buff, the stuff, Bagwell, it's your turn.
Hey guys, it's Marcus Buff Bagwell, and the best way to get in touch with me is marcusbuffbagwell@gmail.com. That kind of, at marcusbuffbagwell.com. You can go to all my social media platforms and all that. You can check it out there. Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that. You can go to marcusbuffbagwell.com and it'll tell you all my handles. But the best way to get in touch with me is marcusbuffbagwell@gmail. As far as my schedule goes, the best way to check it out is my email. It shows all of my dates I'm on. But the next big signing I'm at, this Saturday, I'm in Cartersville, Georgia at Southern Devil Harley Davidson. And it's like just like a Halloween kind of a show for a company called Southern Honor Wrestling. It's a really good little indie show in Atlanta, Georgia here. And then I'm in Oklahoma, November 14th and 15th at a big signing where Sting and a bunch of big name guys are for that. It's the 14th, 15th, and 16th of November in Oklahoma. So, but anything besides that, check out my social media stuff and it'll tell you where I'm at. But something else to do, check out cameo.com. Cameo.com is another way that you can reach out and have Buff Bagwell personally give you a happy birthday or a happy New Year's or a happy wedding anniversary. Or I've quit people's jobs for them before. So anything that you would like me to say for you, go to cameo.com and check it out. And you can get any wrestler in the world, but a lot of them are on there. But you can definitely get Buff Bagwell, cameo.com. But the number one thing right now that's going on in my life is my leg situation with the amputation on my leg. And you can check all of that out by going to the Marcus Buff Bagwell YouTube channel. The whole journey is on there and every story you heard today, it's on there. Me getting fired, how much money I made at WCW, how much money I lost. I mean, it's just a really good channel that I tell my whole life story, and I tell my sobriety journey, and I tell the amputation journey as well on there. Marcus Buff Bagwell on YouTube. Check it out.
Thank you, everybody. It's a huge
Thank
pop entertainment.
you.
He is true. He is true. I watched his How to Eat Clean at McDonald's.
That was a good one.
It was. It's a short 8-minute video on his YouTube channel. Check it out. Marcus Buff Bagwell on YouTube. I guarantee you'll love it. Man,
check out my Chick-fil-A one. My Chick-fil-A one's even better.
Okay, Chick-fil-A. Oh, yes. All right, I will. Man, so it's been a wild, crazy time with you, man. I appreciate you coming on, Marcus. And I was at Huge Pop Entertainment. We are for life.